Yes, my name's Kai, and this is a full, unsponsored, unbiased, unemotional review of the Xreal One extended reality glasses. Welcome to Kai Life. Welcome to another video on the channel, and welcome to not only all of you regular Kai Lifers, but any of you joining me for the very first time. If you are new, then before we get stuck into my deep dive thoughts of the Xreal One glasses, let me appeal to your good nature by asking you to drop a like, hit that subscribe button and join the Kai Life community, and to hit that bell notification so that you can be one of those really cool people that writes first on a video. Now, in my intro, I said unsponsored, unbiased, and unemotional. Now, what I mean by that is that this won't be yet another video of a YouTuber being sent a pre-release pair of these Xreal Ones for free, barely using it, and then having no qualms about shilling enthusiastically for something they're returning and don't care about being considered or honest about. Like many of you who are going to be watching this video, I'm new to the whole XR AR field, and Xreal seemed to be the way to go for me to dip my toes into this particular pool. Aside from my gaming with my Asus ROG Ally X, I also love watching YouTube videos, films, and social media content from my phone, as well as seeing that there's a really fun accompaniment to productivity sessions with anything from general laptop or desktop admin to content creation. I use Lightroom, Photoshop, and Premiere Pro all the time, so I know that I'm going to get use out of these and be able to help you guys make a call on to whether to purchase them or not. It's also important to me that despite the fact that I've genuinely dropped my own cash on these, that I remain disconnected and unemotional about what I don't like, as well as the things that I do like. We're all guilty of being defensive sometimes about the downsides of an expensive purchase because we want it to be amazing to justify the spend. But I know I can't do that with you guys if I want to help you to make a good decision when looking to buy them or not. Now, in terms of what comes in the box, you have the glasses themselves, obviously. You have this USB-C cable, which is lovely and angled, so it doesn't just come straight out of the arm itself. So that snaps in nicely there. It's nice and braided as well. It feels like a nice USB-C cable. I'll always say it because I'm a sucker for it, but I love good packaging, and I'm a sucker for iridescent. I was a sucker for iridescent packaging in the box for my Ally X. I had the same thing with the Xreal Ones. So you get this nice box that says The One on the side, and inside obviously the glasses, the USB-C cable. You get these nose pads that I haven't even got out the box because I haven't needed to. These fit really nicely on my face, but these come in small and large, so obviously it's mediums that are on there right now. You also get a cloth to clean your glasses with, and you get your instruction manual. Right, so what are the Xreal One XR AR glasses, and what features are we looking at with these? First off, you'll see the term XR AR bandied around. All it means, XR just means extended reality, and it's really a catch-all term for AR, augmented reality, and virtual reality, even though there are some crucial differences in the capabilities of these glasses versus some, say, traditional virtual reality goggles. The Xreal Ones feature different viewing modes, including a follow mode, an anchor mode, and an ultra wide and side view, all with pretty fun use cases in their own right. The Xreal Ones utilize something called 3DOF, or 3 degrees of freedom. More on that after the features rundown. It's got software-based IPD adjustment. IPD is Inter-Pupillary Distance. It's got 50 degrees field of view with a 147-inch virtual screen. Peak brightness of up to 5,000 nits, and I don't know about you guys, but I sure do love a good bright nit. It's got 3.0 spatial sound field, which Xreal purport offers privacy and superior sound quality, but more on that later. The speakers are provided by Bose, and let's be real, Xreal about it. Now, it's a badass choice to have Bose speakers in these. It's got a 120 Hz refresh rate, which offers a more stable and smoother image and really helps to complement your gaming needs. And it has an ultra wide option, which offers an aspect ratio of 32:9. We'll look at how that works for content, gaming, and productivity later in the video. Okay, so let's have a look at this 3 degrees of freedom and the specific modes that you can use on the Xreal Ones. So we've got the follow mode, and that means that the screen is going to track and follow your head movement, and the aim is to eliminate motion blur as you move your head. The second mode is anchor, which means that you can anchor the virtual screen anywhere in your view in space. This is actually super fun because you can use the follow mode to choose the most comfortable head position for wherever you're standing or sat. And then you can switch to anchor and it will keep the screen in that position in space. You've then got the ultra wide mode, which is what I mentioned before, the 32:9 aspect ratio, and it's new to this model. And it offers a curved virtual screen that reaches 310 inches. That is a lot of inches. And then there's side view, which is billed as a mini screen for multitasking essentially. So you can shrink and pin your screen to the side for a better view of anything else going on around you while still being able to access and use whatever's on your virtual display. So with side view, say right now I've got them plugged into my iPhone, but with the transparency mode on. So I'm not actually looking at a virtual screen as I'm talking to you, but I've got transparency mode on. So I'm looking through the glasses at you guys on the camera. But with side view on, what I can do is I can put my iPhone display right up in the corner and then essentially have transparency mode on. So I can use the glasses as normal, but I can still access whatever I've chosen to have on my virtual display up on the side. So it really does offer that ability to say, still be able to use my phone if I'm wearing the glasses, but then still be able to see through. I'm not really sure how much I use that mode in all honesty, but it's one of those things I'm not going to complain about the fact that it's in there as a feature. So let's talk about 3 degrees of freedom, because I've heard way too many YouTubers get this wrong, either from the acronym itself to the actual perks and limitations. So 3 degrees of freedom, or 3DOF, or 3DOF as I've heard it called, essentially it's just a virtual reality concept that describes how we can interact with our virtual environment. With 3DOF then we're able to look left and right, you're able to look up and down, and you're able to pivot left and right. So 3DOF means that we can't move through the virtual space, so to speak. So 6DOF, 6 degrees of freedom, that's the virtual reality golden goose. So that's the arena where you're able to interact with objects and the virtual world around you. You cannot do that with these glasses, and it's the key aspect of why it's important not to conflate this tech and these glasses with VR headsets like the Meta Quest, Apple Vision Pro, PlayStation VR. Now let's talk IPD and its importance. So IPD, so Inter-Pupillary Distance. Now this is welcome, but isn't quite the statement solution for Inter-Pupillary Distance based concerns. The upcoming Xreal One Pros, which are released just 2 months from now and will sit alongside these rather than just usurp these, combats this by offering 2 different models. A medium, which is suitable for an IPD of between 57 and 66 millimeters, and a large, which is suitable for those with an IPD of between 66 and 75 millimeters. To hone in on offering us as consumers a more personalized model for our individual IPD needs. It's also worth mentioning that Xreal claim that this will cover 95% of us. So if you're outside of these ranges, then you're gonna get an inferior experience. There's not really anything you can do about that. Luckily, it's super easy to find out what your IPD is, either by going to your optometrist or opticians for spot-on accuracy, or you can just stick a flat ruler to your face and literally measure the distance between your pupils. The Xreal One, these glasses, offers software-based IPD adjustments so that the phenomenon of seeing blurred edges to your screen is eliminated. At least that's what they purport. It pretty much does this just by changing the image size, by the way. So the projected image is just trying to match your pupils being closer together or further apart. It's not the most elegant solution, I'm going to be honest with you. We'll come to see how much of a deal both blurred edges and general blurring are a little later in the video. The Xreal Ones, these glasses come in just one size. So unlike the Xreal One Pros, which are going to offer the medium and the large, there's only one size with this. So if you're looking for a specific IPD, you're going to have to dial it in with the software-based IPD that's built into the glasses. And as I say, that's really only going to change the distance and the image size to avoid the corner blurring. Now, one of the biggest upgrades in the Xreal One glasses compared to its peers and predecessors is the Onboard X1 chip. It means that the glasses are doing a lot of work in frame, so to speak, and offer all of the various modes and adjustments internally via its menu system. It also means that it has latency of just 3 milliseconds, which is pretty much completely imperceptible in terms of latency. There's a shortcut system that you can customize. I've got it set to the default. In fact, I'm just going to take these off that's better. So it's got a shortcut system. I've got it set to the default, so I can switch between transparency mode, which is what I was using when talking to you with them on, and have my virtual display with the top button. So this button up here switches between the display and transparency, and I can use the up and down long button here on the underside to change the electrochromic level and overall brightness. Now, yes, it has electrochromic lenses, which are very cool. And it's another one of those has to be seen to be believed moments with the Xreal One. Having said that, if you're in a fairly dimly lit space, having it on its lighter setting still doesn't let in a whole lot of light. So I was prone to just sort of shifting my head away and from side to side to see away from the glasses to be able to see something else, including whatever it was, my phone, Boo, my girlfriend, or the TV. Transparency mode though offers the same level of clarity, but obviously removes the virtual display. So you can either have the electrochromic level set to minimum, but still be able to see a virtual display, or if you put on transparency, it's the same as having electrochromic set to its minimum, but obviously rids yourself of the virtual display. But it's a welcome option if you want to prioritize actually seeing the world around you with a simple button press. So you can still see around you, especially if you're outside, and you can still see your content, but you can also see around you so you can stay nice and safe. What I will say as a con is there is a high pitch frequency on the middle electrochromic setting for me. For me, that noise is an F sharp, although the annoying note that you might hear may vary. The right side, the right arm here of the Xreal Ones is a built-in sensor that detects when you've put on or taken off the glasses. I actually tried to activate this simply by blocking or pressing objects against the arm, and it didn't activate the display. But having it touching my temple or even just wrapping my hand around it did activate the display. I thought that's a pretty neat feature. On the most part, this is a really cool feature. It gives me confidence in feeling like I don't need to necessarily babysit the display, just sitting there staying on, or whilst not using the glasses. Although remember that they'll deactivate the moment that you disconnect the USB-C that's connected to the left arm. Now, because the glasses are USB powered to whichever device that you are using the display from, one of the perks is that the glasses don't need charging. To me, this is a legitimate relief because I don't know about you guys, but I really didn't need another device to charge and monitor the battery level of. The amount of devices that I have, even just recording this, pretty much everything is hooked up to USB. I don't need to stress about the battery level of the glasses. Instead, they draw power from whichever device they're connected to. Xreal purport that they only draw about 2 watts per hour of battery, so it's pretty negligible. In my battery tests, which you'll see in a moment, that really stands up. If you're using a Mac or a PC or something like my Asus ROG Ally X, or indeed any device that has 2 USB-C ports, you can charge your device whilst also handing off the display to the glasses, meaning you're not gonna run out of juice. With the Steam Deck, I know, and with the first 2 versions of the Asus ROG Ally, you only have 1 USB-C port, so you will need an adapter. It becomes tricky with a phone, obviously, because there's only a single port. Xreal, I believe, do sell a splitter, but obviously that starts racking up the cost in terms of extras. And in all honesty, I have no need for something like that. Phones charge super fast these days, so just give yourself a 10 or 15 minute break with the glasses and top up your battery. Or of course, if your phone supports wireless charging, just wirelessly charge the phone and you can keep the port free to keep your glasses plugged in. Speaking about, let's just pop these back on. And now I'm cool. Speaking about giving yourself a break, I'd advise it with the glasses. Again, your mileage may vary, but I definitely noticed that when I'd been sat gaming with them for at least an hour or 2, the feeling of being a little bit spaced out, definitely no headaches or dizziness, but definitely like I'd been immersed in something and needed to give my eyes a break. But it's always going to be a personal thing though. Everyone's eyes and tolerance levels for this kind of tech varies wildly. And again, this is something that I wish for you that I could convey as an absolute to help you make a decision, but the experience of wearing the glasses through my eyes just might not be the same experience as you have through yours. So like I say, a little bit like testing the electrochromic lenses. I wish that I could really properly convey it through the video, but you kind of got to test it yourself. Now, in terms of testing out the battery then, what I did was connected it up to my ROG Ally X, and I wanted to make sure that this was a completely fair test. So I hadn't realized at this point that there was a sensor in the right arm of the glasses, and I thought what I could do is just leave the game on, leave the glasses attached, and just be like, happy days. Let's see how much battery drain there is from the ROG Ally X in an hour in a fair test. And then I realized that the glasses turn themselves off if I'm not wearing them, but I didn't want to sit just wearing them and not playing the game, because I wanted to just leave it in Hogsmeade on Hogwarts Legacy and let it do its thing. So as you can see here, I sat down and had my hand wrapped around the right hand frame of these glasses for an hour and made sure that the display stayed on for an hour just to see how much drain there is. So listen, if you haven't already liked this video and if you're not already a subscriber, then I can't think of a better reason to give me that like or subscribe than the effort it took for me to sit here for a combined 3 hours just to see what the battery drain was. So here we go, after an hour of Hogwarts Legacy being on in turbo mode, there was 55% battery left after an hour. In performance mode, there was 65% left, and in silent mode, there was 74% left. So pretty much, as I said before, an almost negligible drain on your battery. But the thing is, if you're running something that has more than one USB port, then you can charge the device anyway whilst you're using the glasses. So it's a bit of a moot point. Now, how do they look? What do you think? You guys be the judge. I think they look pretty goofy. The first time I put them on, Boo laughed at me when she saw me wearing them for the first time. I mean, a guttural laugh. I mean, it's quite obvious that you're not wearing a standard pair of glasses. There are a couple of things I would say personally though, with regards to the distance of the eyes from the actual lens. Now, having come to these with no experience of XR AR glasses before, I thought that the field of view and distance of the glasses from the face would completely shatter any feeling of immersion. And I am genuinely happy to say that this isn't the case. The moment you witness the marvel of feeling like you're looking at a massive screen in front of your face, I immediately feel like my brain and eyes tune out from everything that isn't the screen in my vision. So I really thought that I would be, as soon as I'd wear these, that everything outside of the lenses would just completely break the enjoyment and fun, but that's definitely not the case. Having said that, I was even more surprised to feel like I kind of appreciated that because the glasses sit so far away from my face, I could sit on the couch playing on my Ally X, but still watch TV with Boo. We're watching through Lost on Netflix at the moment. I've seen it before, so don't need to necessarily give it my full attention. So basically feeling like the distance from how the glasses sit in terms of on my face and how far they are from my eyes helps me to sort of multitask in real life. And that's a plus point for me. In terms of aesthetics though, yeah, I think they look pretty stupid. I'm not gonna lie, I think they look pretty stupid. But this comes down to how much this matters to you. Do you care about getting weird looks in a cafe, on a plane, or on a train? If you're the kind of person to feel subconscious about drawing attention to yourself from wearing these, then yeah, maybe that's a legitimate concern. Yeah, it's worth bearing in mind that you're not going to look like you're just wearing a normal pair of shades, especially considering that you've got a USB-C cable just hanging out the back of the left arm. But listen, I don't care about how I look when I'm wearing these. So I went for a walk and I had the Electrochromic setting set down to the minimum, and I was watching a YouTube video in landscape whilst walking to the cafe and going for a walk. And I was really surprised at how well this works in this kind of setting. So I'd kind of, before I went and used these whilst walking around, I was reading about people doing this and I explained to Boo about doing this, and I thought, this is a gimmick. This is actually going to be a bit dumb. It might not be safe. I might feel stupid doing it, but man, I was wrong. I was really wrong about this. So I could put the screen brightness on my iPhone down to minimum, and that didn't change the brightness in the virtual display in the glasses. So I could put YouTube on, put the brightness down to minimum, phone went in the pocket, and I could see through the screen and around me still because I had that electrochromic setting set on minimum.
Okay, I'm gonna be real with you guys. You pardon the pun. I expected this to be a completely untenable experience. I really did. I thought there's no way you can just walk down the road and watch content and also be vigilant and see what's going on whilst you're out on a walk, and I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. I'm totally able to see around me and be aware, and obviously I can hear well because I don't have headphones in my ears, so my ears are clear, but I can hear the video playing really well, and I can see the picture enough. I've got it on follow mode right now, so I can sort of stay aware and look around and have the video track. This is actually a much better experience and a more tenable experience than I thought.
So I felt safe. I could still hear everything, obviously, because you've got your ears are unblocked, your ear canals are unblocked. So even though I can hear everything that's going on in the video, I can still stay super aware and hyper aware of what's going around me in terms of traffic or anyone coming up behind me. So actually, this worked a lot better than I thought it would. And I think it definitely goes into the plus column of the Xreal Ones. Now, in terms of blurred edges, this is another thing that I thought would be a deal breaker in terms of enjoyment from the glasses. But I think this is really only going to be a massive consideration if you're in need of perfectly clear text right down to the corner of your viewing screen size without wanting to have to move your head slightly in anchor mode. In follow mode, obviously the screen tracks and moves with your head movements. So any blurred edges and slightly less clear text in the corner of your display will remain that way. In anchor mode, of course, you're just making that display stay wherever you want in space. So you can then move your head to actually make the corners clear, because obviously you're moving that text then towards the center of your display. Again, your mileage may vary in terms of where this sits on the acceptable to desirable scale. And I'm not here to tell you that it's not less than ideal, that the entire image isn't crystal clear. All I'm saying is that for me, less clarity at the borders had no impact, or has no impact, on my enjoyment or level of immersion, whether I'm gaming, whether I'm watching films, videos, or browsing socials. Now, what there certainly is blurring across the entire display if you move your head around whilst viewing. Now, I'm mostly just pointing this out as something that happens as opposed to some kind of massive flaw, as there's not really a good reason to just waft your head around in a sort of crazy fast manner, but it's doing this, you will get blur across the entire display. But it's certainly there. They do clamp pretty well to my face. It's actually a little bit of effort getting them on. So you're not necessarily going to have a problem with that if you're using them to exercise. But look, with the blurring that happens when you do this, I wouldn't recommend it. So for example, I've got just a still at the moment. I've got the YouTube app opened on my phone, which is mirroring to my display. I've got it on anchor mode, and if I move my head left and right, the text is blurry. I mean, I can't see the text. Does that matter? No, not really. Is it ideal? No. Does it matter? No. There's no reason for me to have a display anchored in space for me to do this and then be like, oh, why isn't it clear? Because that's not a real world experience. If I press this small button on the underside of the right arm again, I put that into follow mode, and I mean, it's less of an issue now. I mean, obviously the screen is following, I must look absolutely ridiculous. The screen is following my head movement. Yes, it's blurry when I'm moving, but again, I have no reason to do that. However, if I'm simulating jogging right now, there's a little bit of blur, but actually follow mode really, really nicely tracks my head movement as I'm doing this. And this, as I think we can all attest, is a perfect example of actually jogging. If I put this onto anchor mode and jog, yeah, it's still, actually, do you know what? It's still not that bad. It's only really if you swish your head around like this, and there's no need to do that. So yes, there is motion blurring. No, I don't really think it's a problem. I think there's more of a problem for you guys in terms of blurring on the edges. And like I say, the combat to that, Xreal's argument against that is, well, use the IPD adjustment, the software-based IPD adjustment, but all that does, like I say, is it just shrinks the display. So if you imagine the corners are the parts where they're slightly blurry, so the software IPD adjustment is just going to make that do this and just shrink the display. So it's negligible that the blurring is in the corners. The blurring is still there, it's just that there's no display in the corners. So it's not an issue. Not really a solution. What you want, of course, is something that matches that pupillary distance but doesn't necessarily compromise display size. Now that's where you might want to hold off and look at the Xreal One Pros. Now productivity. Now this is something that I'm going to admit once again I thought was a bit of a gimmick, and I thought, I mean, it looks cool, it's a cool to have, it's a feature. I'm not sure it works particularly well. I'm here to report that in my experience, I think, again, this is a bit of a game changer. Now, the one thing I was really excited about buying these for was for gaming. There's no doubt about that. In terms of being able to sit on the couch, sit and relax with Boo, and I can have a massive display in front of my face whilst playing my favorite games on a handheld console. That was the main perk for me. And when I heard about the prospect of using this for productivity, I thought it's a neat idea. Probably not going to work. I'd rather just sit down and do all my usual productivity things, whether it's using Lightroom and Photoshop for photography or Premiere Pro for editing content like this. I'll just do that in a normal standard manner and use my usual screens. This has been a game changer, especially with ultra wide mode. Now, the ultra wide mode only works in anchor, so you can only anchor that screen. You can't have that set to follow. But that 32:9 ratio, 310 inches of viewing, my God, again, it needs to be experienced to be believed, because I can't really show you what my eyes can see and what it's possible to see. The only thing I can do is stick my GoPro into one of the lenses, and that really doesn't give the effect. But on ultra wide mode, using something like Lightroom, so I've tested it on Lightroom, Photoshop, Premiere Pro. I've also tested it with Logic Pro as well on my MacBook for when I do some music production. This thing slaps. Honestly, it is so amazing to have such a big viewing space, especially, you know what it's like. You use something like Premiere Pro or Lightroom and Photoshop, you have so many different windows. There's so many different modules that you need to call upon. You're not just in one space. So to be able to drag certain things in, to be able to look and pull things from different elements and have basically an additional virtual displays. This thing is awesome for that. It really is. I have actually been more surprised and more pleased by how much I'm using these glasses, not just for when I'm using them recreationally for gaming or for watching YouTube or films, but that I am using them as a virtual display when I'll go to the cafe and I will need to edit some photos, and actually being able to edit those photos and have that workflow in the ultra wide mode is damn awesome. So overall, things that I genuinely, honestly don't like so much, I'd prefer a bigger field of view. I know that this is something that obviously it's tough to do. These aren't virtual reality glasses. They're not glasses that wrap around your entire head as much as we'd like to have some sort of hybrid. So I don't really know how that increases. Having said that, the Xreal One Pros that are coming out in only 2 months already have an increased field of view. So if you're looking, if that's a deal breaker, then I could only advise you to wait. They're gonna be £100, €100, $100 more expensive, but I think that might be worth for the additional viewing space. Also, of course, you've got the medium model and the large model, so you can really dial in to whatever your IPD is. Again, I think that's crucial in terms of avoiding any unwanted and unnecessary blurring. Like I said at the start, Xreal say that 95% of users should be covered by those two ranges, so it's unlikely that you're going to fall into that 5% range. Having said that, it doesn't make the glasses unusable. It just means that you're probably more prone to seeing blurriness than someone that can properly dial in their IPD. Xreal purport that the speakers, which are awesome by the way, the Bose speakers are great, but that they offer good privacy. They don't, not really. As you can see when I was in the cafe and testing them, not really, but this is again one of those things where it's a little bit like the speakers built into my ROG Ally X. They're really good. How often do I use them? Pretty much never. I always connect them to my AirPod Pros. Same thing with these. If I'm using these in a cafe, or even if I'm using them at home on the couch and I know Boo's here, I'm gonna connect them to my AirPod Pros. I'm gonna have other headphones in, because even though the speakers are great, there is that noise bleed. It reminds me a little bit of when I go running and I use my bone conducting headphones. There's a lot of noise bleed. And so they certainly don't offer the privacy that maybe Xreal purport that they do. Having said that, like I say, the fact that they have collaborated with Bose really does show. The speakers are great, and the experience of not having to wear headphones if you don't want to. I mean, listen, by all means, crack on. Sit on your plane, sit on your train, sit in your cafe, sit at home, and just have the volume up. And, you know, who cares about who can hear you? Listen, the speakers are great. The quality is amazing. But in terms of having complete privacy, you're not going to have it. I think something that definitely does have to be said is it always makes consumers slightly nervous when you get lots of models released in a short space of time, and the Xreal Ones are certainly sitting amongst that in the Xreal range. Now, we've had the Xreal Airs have come out, the Xreal Beam came out, which was an extra bit of hardware which you don't need to use with these. You have the Xreal One Pros that come out in 2 months' time. And then there's talk of an Xreal One Ultra coming out also this year. And I know that makes me nervous as a consumer. We've all kind of just about got used to the idea of an annual iteration and an annual release of your favorite technology. And some people don't even buy into that, but it's difficult to buy an expensive bit of kit knowing that there is something that is objectively better and more improved coming out in just 2 months' time. That's a bit of a bitter pill to swallow. And so the honest truth is that I kind of sit in two coexisting camps, which is that I think these are great and I do actually recommend them, but I can't really recommend buying them when the Xreal One Pros are purported to be released in 2 months' time. It's too short a window really for me to say, hold on, don't buy that upgrade yet, because it's still a certain amount of time away. Now, like I say, with something like an iPhone or my Ally X or most gaming devices, especially handheld devices, you're looking at really an annual iteration turnover. So 2 months is a bit of a bitter pill to swallow. It's one of those that sort of simultaneously sits in the cons and the pros. These are awesome, and ultimately, I would recommend them to you. At the same time, if you're looking for a pair of Xreal One glasses that are more suited to your needs, especially with the increased field of view, the better fit for your IPD, your Inter-Pupillary Distance, then you've got to wait for the Xreal One Pros, in all honesty. If you've got FOMO, you just want to get a badass pair of shades right now, get them. Get them, because I'm telling you, I'm going to say it again, for gaming, for productivity, for watching films, for watching YouTube, this thing is awesome. This thing is absolutely brilliant. It really is. And I didn't think I'd be saying that. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be so real with you. I thought this was going to be yet another impulse purchase that was just going to sit in the drawer and do nothing. And it's been one of my go-to bits of tech on a daily basis since I bought it. So there we go. Guys, I hope this video has been super useful for you. Please do let me know if you've got any questions about the Xreal Ones. If you've bought them, let me know how you're getting on with them. What do you like about them? What do you not like about them? Like I say, I'm really keen for this not to be a biased review. It isn't a biased review. I have no dog in this fight in terms of whether these do well or not, but I love mine. And I'd love to know whether you love yours or don't love yours. Have you not got them? Why have you not got them? Etc, etc. Let me know in the comments, because I love chatting with you guys. Until the next time, thank you so much, guys, for joining me over here on Kai Live. I love having you with me. Until the next video, take care, much love, and peace out.